All right, guys, we're back for talking preps, and Chris Dale tells me I cannot ask you what week it is. I'm supposed to say it's week 4 of the high school football playoffs. I get that right there.
Round 4.
Round 4.
Round 4
round.
of the high school football playoffs.
Yeah.
One too many rounds.
So that means we're in the regional championship round of the Division III private school playoffs, and we're in the quarterfinal round of everybody else. But Gary thinks that 8A has it right and everybody else is wrong.
What AA is in?
They started calling 8A the private school Division III. It's an inside joke. It's an inside joke. But we got a lot to talk about. We got Deshaun Baker, the Huff football coach, on. We got the players of the week. We're gonna talk to Griner about his game. Griner's a little excited right now, so we got to calm him down. We're gonna give him talk. Look at him smiling in the back. We're gonna talking about his game, and we got Jim West and Chris to break down the playoffs better than you get anywhere else in the state on any show, any podcast, any newspaper except Charlotte Observer. And we'll be right back after this. So, Chris, what caught your eye last week?
Well, to be honest, I didn't go to a game in North Carolina last week because I was
playing hooky.
My bad. I'm a week off. I was about to start talking about the last show. I missed. My bad. What caught my eye about last week? Man, some great ball games. Great football weather. I was at Central Davidson. I finally got to see some brown grass. The frost came. Had some freeze warnings here around the state. So to finally see football that matters. And I hate to say it like that because it sounds so negative. But with the expanded playoffs and the system the way it is and the bloated 8 classifications and so on and so forth, we had to kind of get through some rounds that didn't have that very many matchups to finally get to some good football. And I think we finally got some good football this week. We
did. And you sent me a video. What is going on in this video here?
So, yeah, I was thinking I was a little bit off. So last week, I'm sorry I missed guys last week, but last week I was invited down to Texas A&M. Went to see that incredible game between Texas A&M and South Carolina. Saw, one of our own, KC Concepcion. I have a great game. But that Friday night, I drove 8 hours to Odessa, Texas to go to the granddaddy of high school stadiums, Ratliff Stadium, which is the home of the movie Friday Night Lights, the book that came out in 1988. Had a great time. That stadium seats roughly about 20,000 people. It was a first-round game, too. In fact, it turned out to be a terrible game. Odessa Permian won the game 59-7. But during the game, I could not believe it. I was just ready to buy a ticket and sit in the stands. And somehow or the other, they somebody noticed who I was. Next thing you know, I'm sitting up there in the upstairs booth with the superintendent, the principals, the school board, out on the field meeting the head coach before the game. In fact, I took a selfie at the kickoff at the coin toss, but incredible. And to be able to sit up there in that booth with the president or the chairman of the school board for Ector County, Miss Tammy Hawkins, the athletic secretary, Miss Betty Lucas, some of the people involved, and to be able to talk ball with those guys and to learn about how they utilize athletics and specifically football to invest in football as a business, to allow that to take care of all the academic programs they could ever want to do, and to see them with coaches pay, with all the money they feed into it. They had a marching band that had about 500 kids. I mean, they just go all in on kids and allow football to pay for everything. And that's just the way it's supposed to be. And I was so thrilled to talk with them and to be a part of that. And that's just, if you're a high school fan like we are, that's kind of like the holy grail. So I had a great time.
Clear eyes, full heart.
Chris, let me ask you something. You talk about all the stuff they do with the money. Where is the money coming from to finance all of this? Because one other thing that makes Texas different from North Carolina is Texas doesn't have state income tax.
That's correct.
So North Carolina has to fund a lot of stuff, comes from the General Assembly for education, and Texas doesn't have that revenue. Now, we know they got oil revenue, but how does that filter its way to the schools where they can afford to, have a coaching staff that totals probably $250,000 salary and
It's more than that.
And
yeah, I'm talking about the whole coaching staff, and
I
all
was
of this
unable,
stuff.
I was
How
unable
did
to get
you-
into the weeds with the school board chair, but I plan on reaching back to her and trying to get a little bit more of those answers. I think she told me that just the marching band alone's yearly budget was like $250,000 for everything that they do, and I would love to get those answers. I will follow back with them and see if we can do a special segment here later on. But a lot of it had to be just the ticket revenue. I mean, the stadium seats 20,000 for a home game like that against a nobody team that was like 6 hours away. I would say there was only about 5,000 people on the home side, but still, that's a great crowd. And the ticket prices were high. Concessions were. I even paid $25 for the shirt because I wanted to support the school. But I would love to know too where that money comes from. So I'll follow back.
Yeah, that is a great point, Gary. That is a great point. So Gary, while you're there, we saw this in Mississippi state championship game. Watch what happens. Private school state championship game. Watch this coach right there. I saw this on a lot of sports channels over the weekend. And they tried to rush the player for something the coach did. I just want to get your thoughts on what you saw there.
First of all, you want to know what is that coach's responsibility? Okay, is he a volunteer coach that comes around just on game day, or is he somebody that works in the school on a daily basis as a teacher? Because it kind of reminded me of last Saturday when the highway patrolman lost the two South Carolina football players for no reason.
Yeah.
So, I just think people want to be a part of something, and just watching or coaching isn't enough. They want to do something that says, "Look at me." We live in a "look at me" generation, and I think that's because of social media. I mean, it's reflected in. I watched the game Friday night. Every time a player made a tackle, he wanted to stand over the guy. Or if it's a defensive back and he's defending somebody and it's incomplete, he may have had nothing to do with the pass, but he wants to stand over and give the incomplete sign. It's just like everything is "look at me." So I got something to post on social media so that you know what I did.
Dale?
The guy needs to be fired from the staff. That's assault. So I think you should be charged with assault. Never allowed on another sideline again, quite honestly. If I did that in a high school game, I'd be in jail.
I just don't understand the need to do that personally. I don't know. Chris, put a bow on that for me.
I'm with Dale. The video is pretty damning. If he'd have put his hand the other way to catch him versus propel him towards the bench, it'd be one thing. But it's obvious with his actions that he was pushing him towards the bench or whatever, and it didn't look good. And, we can't forget that these are young boys, 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, and he's a grown man. We're here to protect them, to lead them, to prepare them to be the next generation of coaches, leaders, fathers, husbands, and that's just not a good example.
Yeah.
And Langston, I read the follow-up today somewhere, and they were saying that guy was suspended. So that tells me he must work for the school. Yeah. But the quarterback got ejected for retaliating.
That's wrong.
That's not right. Yeah. That you served a purpose. You got that kid ejected from the game because he's retaliating, and fortunately for his team, they won the game anyway.
Okay.
But had they lost that game, then he achieved
his goal.
Yeah, to get the starting quarterback out of the game in the first quarter. Wow.
I want to go a little bit off script because I saw this note as you guys were talking from DJ McFadden. We were just talking about salaries and pay, and he put this up on Twitter. Dale, I'm going to let you address that after you take a look. He's saying he's about to coach in the 4th round playoff game. He has been paid a penny since the end of the regular season.
It's true. He should be tired of it or tired of being quiet about it. Everybody should be offended that coaches are. I get the point that coaches should want to do this job, and that's that one mentality of they should want to do this, they're volunteering to do this, but coaches do so much, Langston, and you're carrying a whole nother. This is a half a season, half of a football season that they're continuing to coach and doing all the things that they did through the regular season, and they're not making, as he said, a damn penny, and that's just wrong. I think we all agree with that. I don't know what more to say than it's wrong in CMS or the state legislature, because it's not just in CMS, it's across the whole state. This needs to be addressed.
Well, CMS has said they're going to look at, doing something in the next budget request.
And he's talking about coaching. We've had Baker on the interview, and we've had other coaches. And the first thing, they talked about is they started looking at film again yesterday on Saturday. And so they worked yesterday, and they probably had a staff meeting.
Oh, they work 7 days a week. Absolutely.
And so I'm like, that's weekend hours. It's become 7 days a week now that you get deeper in the playoffs. It's no longer a 6-day week. It's a 7-day week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
And it's year round now too. 20, 30 years ago, it wasn't necessarily year round. All right, let's switch to a little bit, talking about a few games. Dale, I do not have your highlights. I promise I'll get them by Wednesday's show in OT. I'm sorry. But we did hear from, you like linemen, so we did hear from a lineman after West Charlotte's big win against Myers Park. Going to play that.
Smash mouth, keep away football. Was that the game plan coming in this week?
You know who they running it behind. Them halls right here, man. Smash mouth football from the first to the last quarter. Get us the dub. Ready for Huff next week.
Obviously, they've got two big-time defensive linemen that you had to block.
Yeah.
How much film work did you do to scout those guys?
Every day, preparation. We get the win on Friday. Next Saturday morning, I'm watching film on Myers Park, trying to see these guys move and stuff. Very great players, too. Good luck to wherever they're going. Very great players, but yet again, we bring it to them, blow for blow. A couple wins on their side, a couple wins on our side. Good thing we was lucky to come up on top with the win.
And now you play Huff, and in essence, it's kind of the city/county championship.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think it's the perfect. This is what we wanted from the beginning of the season. And this is what we earned it. Let's get back in the lab, get better each day. We coming.
He said, "This is what we want. It's perfect. We're coming there. We're coming." What do you think about hearing from Mr. Broom? I know you like linemen.
I like that lineman too, and he went down with injury Friday night. I was concerned it might be serious, might be an ankle or something, but thankfully he returned to the game. He's a great ball player. Just seems to be a great human too, but a fantastic football player. Played Myers Park's a physical team.
Yeah.
Against most teams, if you look at tiers, their problem is they're a top 5 tier team in Charlotte, but we got 2 teams that are just like elite. And within their tier class and below, Myers Park's a tough team for anybody, and they're going to beat just about.
Will Myers Park
anybody.
come out of the East?
Would they come out of the East? I'm not going to say that because there's
Chris said, mm-mm.
Maybe. I'm not going to say no.
No, your initial reaction was, mm-mm.
I don't think they would. I'm with Chris 100% because it's not like the team that wins the West is going to win 8A. That's just not the case.
The West
There's
team
going to be
beat themselves up on the way to the state championship game.
Well, that's true, but there's going to be a battle. Even if they don't, they're not going to beat themselves up. They got a week off. They ain't going to go to Hawaii or something before they go back.
That nice, they give some champagne and some. Well, they can't drink champagne, but some soda and some cookies and crackers, and let them rest.
But Myers Park, Myers Park is a better team than they were last year.
They were 4-6 last year, and they're a 3rd-round playoff team this year. Coach talked about they were embarrassed by their performance last year, and he came back and they proved that they were a better team than that. So you have to give them a lot of credit.
Well, I think that they're better than they were 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. As a team, they seem to be better. They have a lot of talented players.
Yeah,
that's not a weak team. It's just they played a great team. I expect that we will see Myers Park in the mix next year. And if they continue their improvement, then maybe they can find themselves stepping up to that next tier in Charlotte.
Okay. Well, speaking of next tiers in Charlotte, Chris, we saw Providence Day win another state championship. That's 4 in 5 years now. This was a dominant Providence Day team. They beat Roman Catholic, which is in the Philadelphia quarterfinals, a regional, sometimes national power, game 1. After that, nobody came close. That includes Raven Gap. That includes Charlotte Christian twice. Your thoughts about this Providence Day team?
You know, I remember back in the spring when I was visiting high schools around the state, and I sat down in Coach Chad Greer's office at Overcash Stadium, and he had the schedule written up on the whiteboard behind him, and we were looking at it, and Roman Catholic, Pennsylvania private school power, then Rollsville, then Catholic, then Butler, then Raven Gap, and I made the comment. I was like, feasibly you could start the season 0-5, and he just kind of chuckled, and I could tell he wasn't buying what I was saying, and I didn't think that they would go 0-5 either. And that's when Coach Greer just said, "This is the best team I've ever had," and just lamented on the fact that he was going to be very good. He didn't seem. I mean, he agreed that it was an aggressive schedule, very good schedule. That it was all good teams. But he was just very confident in the fact that that's probably the best team he had, and didn't seem fazed by the schedule. And you know what? You look at not just the games, with the exception of that 1-point win, I think it was 29-28 maybe against Roman Catholic week 1 against from Philadelphia. They dominated everyone. It wasn't even a close game. It wasn't even a 2 or 3 score game. Most of them were 49, 50, 70-point wins. And I think this is one of the best seasons ever. In that regard, you look at Zahid Lott and the numbers that he put up, both rushing and passing. I think he's been grossly undervalued in what he meant to that team, and the run defense. They're just a great program, a great year.
Okay, I got a question for you, Chris. A year ago, myself and about 10 other people put together the all-time Sweet 16 football poll. Where would this Providence Day team stack up on this poll?
Well, looking at it,
that's the best from 84 to 24.
At least in the top 6 or 7. I mean, they're maybe they would be there. Definitely no less than maybe 8th or 9th. They would be there. I think this is a great team.
Gary and Dale, would you agree that this Providence Day team can be top 10 all time in our region?
Top 10? Could be. I mean, those were some very good teams. I saw every one of those teams play in the top 10. Those were very good teams. This is the great Providence Day team. Man, that's a hard call. I don't like your number 1, but that's okay.
I know you don't.
But that aside, I remember that Spartanburg team too. That was a really good football team. But Langston, these are all great football teams, but Providence Day is a great football team. I wish we could match them up wish we could match these teams up in some manner. But I kind of agree with Chris that maybe, they might be on the level of an Independence 2002 team.
Sure. I wouldn't put them above the 01 or 04, but 02 maybe.
Yeah.
Gary, you buying what they sell?
Yes. I didn't get to see Providence Day play this year.
They're very good.
I didn't get to, put eyes on them, so to speak. It's one thing to see somebody on video, which I did watch them the other day on tape. I didn't have anything else to do, and they're very good. And Chris just outlined the schedule they played. They played. He tested them. He wanted to find out how good they were, and they mastered every test. So I'm willing to say, yeah, you could put them in that ranking somewhere. I don't know where, because like I said, I didn't see them this year in person where I could eyeball them. But I mean, when you play who you have to play, in the past, when I always compare private schools to public schools, I always look at the competition level. Who are they playing? And they played some of the best programs in North Carolina this year. So you can't use that excuse of, well, they don't play anybody. because they did play somebody and they dominated who they played. So
on the road.
Well, and Gary, they also, I think, showed that what I view as their potential weakness of any private school's weakness, and that's depth. And they showed in those games that depth did not harm them, that they apparently have the kind of depth that they need to play big, tough teams a full 4 quarters. I've seen that.
Yeah, that was the thing.
Many of the privates, yeah.
That was the thing that Chad talked about with this team back when Chris was talking about in the summer. I went to go see him. He said, Langston, I can 2 platoon everywhere, which he hasn't been able to do in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I would seriously think about ranking this team in the top 5. I've seen all these teams play. I think this Providence Day team is huge. They got a really good quarterback. They got a stud wide receiver, good wide receivers we've seen around here. They're really, really good. They got.
Here's my question to you guys, because you've seen Providence Day.
I have.
You've seen Huff.
Yeah.
You've seen West Charlotte.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where would they rank? And I'm not talking about Sweet.
I would not rank Huff or West Charlotte in the top 5 ever teams in this area.
No.
I know that answers your question.
With this Providence Day team, beat Huff or West Charlotte this year.
Yeah, I just told you I ranked this Providence Day team top 5 ever. I would not rank Huff or West Charlotte top 5 ever.
I think that Providence Day would win on both.
I wouldn't rank Huff or West Charlotte in the Sweet 16 of that ranking you just saw. I would not put them in there.
21 points or better, we're asked, and I don't
know about
it
that.
Would be 21
it would be a tight game.
I don't know about that.
I think it'd be a tight game.
Providence Day just has more. They have more answers than you have questions, I would say. But after the game,
but those 2 teams have got great defensive lines.
They do.
That's a fact. And I'm gonna tell you now, some of the best edge play I've seen is by West Charlotte. I love the way they play the edge.
Yeah.
So I mean, they can put all kind of pressure in that backfield. I think it would be games I'd love to watch. And oh man.
Well, after the state championship game, we got to hear from some of the particulars on Providence Day.
I'm just beyond grateful for all these guys out here. You know, like this whole summer we've been out working, and I didn't really know what to expect coming back this year. But you know, I do this for all of them, and I just want to thank God for everything here, because last year I dealt with some injuries, and now I'm just so grateful to be back and playing with these guys.
You know, as seniors, you know, last year you guys fell short in this game, so to get back here, how big of a goal was that, you know, to finish off on the right foot?
Yeah, I mean, it really just went back to, like, our standards and our values. I mean, we got our 7 core values, our 3 goals, and our mission statement, and, you know, we just held to that standard in practice, and, you know, we just make routine plays in the games, and, yeah.
Just how happy I am for these kids and our coaches that put so much into it. I think we never designed anything to be easy, we designed to be worth it. And you know, some of those days you wonder if it's really worth it, and now it feels worth it. I mean, just the smiles on these kids' faces and the joy that they and their families and the whole community's feeling, just really cool.
Put the season into words. I mean, you guys had, you know, first game of the year is a 1-point win, and after that it was 20-plus points for every other game. I mean, just pure dominance. Describe this team.
Man, you know, I avoided that in the past. Your Langston's asked me, you know, where's this team in the past? I mean, we have bigger names, so to speak, but it's the most complete team I've ever coached. We didn't really have a weakness. And tell Langston, I said, you know, our run defense is pretty good. We did pretty good against the run. I think we've done good against that all year. So that wasn't a fall for us. We were excited that we were hoping they'd run the ball. Jamal's a great talent and player, but our team defense has been amazing all year. So wasn't surprised what Coach Srepka and our guys did on defense.
Well, we do know that Chad watches the show. All right, Dale, the last thing we saw last week, Huff got down 3-0 to West Forsyth, and they rolled after that. Were you surprised at the manner they handled West Forsyth? Because I'm told that game was never really close, or the score. Either one of those surprised you?
Neither surprised me. The only surprise that I had was when a fellow that was there on the sidelines with me, he's like, Huff's down 3-0. And I knew it was early, but I don't know. I didn't foresee that kind of a game that I'm just going to say the only thing that surprises me ultimately in the final score is I did, and somebody called, some West Forsyth guy chirped on
They were
on your
chirping
Twitter
on
post.
Sure, yeah.
He chirped about me saying that they could have possibly been a running clock in that game. So, yeah, I
You
don't
did
know
say
whether
that.
I did say that.
You did say that. But I mean, West Forsyth's a proud team. They have great fans, and every year when West Forsyth gets to a Charlotte team, we always hear from their fans. So I enjoy, the back and forth, and they watch the show too. So thank you guys for watching the show. Chris, did this surprise you?
No, not at all. I mean, Huff's a great team. I mean, I expected about 35-14. I think was the score I told some guys, and they gave up. Huff, I think, was about to score going into the half, and West Forsyth made a quick stop to keep it from being, I think, 21. It might have been 21-3 at the half. So I mean, it could have been worse in the score.
Yeah. Well, after the game, we heard from the guy that Coach Baker calls Mr. Head and Shoulders, quarterback Ethan Royal.
First off, congratulations on the game. So coming into this game, West Forsyth, they had a pretty good defense.
Yes, sir.
And you guys put 28 on them. I guess what was the focus for you guys to keep on putting on points like you always do?
Really just, like you said, they had a good D-line, good defense. We had to just win up front. Really, we were just trying to dominate up front and then just do what we do offensively.
And so with that being said, that first quarter started kind of slow for you guys. I guess what you guys had to change so that you can get back on track for the rest of the game?
Really, we didn't really have to change much. We just had to execute what we were doing. We really didn't have to change nothing this game.
And as for yourself, I think I had you for 3 touchdowns.
Yes, sir.
I guess, what was going through your head as you was, playing this game and, trying to get you guys to the next round?
Just consistency. That's all I really focused on.
All right. Well, there's the Huff kids. Ethan's been a major part of the season. He has this thing he puts on social media, talk soon. Well, Ethan, we're going to talk soon because you're in the biggest game of the year coming up. So, Chris, our players of the week this week, who caught your eye?
Wow, all of them, really. I don't know. It's hard to say any particular one.
I tell you, who caught my eye was Ari Greenfield of Robinson.
Greenfield, and probably just because of how they won was Amari Pearson at Jacksonville, how he scored the 2-point conversion there at the end.
Yeah, that was impressive. But the Robinson kid, who's on our Football Player of the Week show, so on SharpObserver.com. Make sure you guys go check that out. But he threw for 245 and 3 and ran for 135 and 2. That's impressive. But all these guys are impressive. We had Greenfield and Jared Street in studio, 2 of the best interviews we had all season. So I hope you guys are going to check that out. But we'll be right back after this message. Chris, we're going to turn you and Jim West loose. We're going to break down the 1A to 6A playoffs, and we'll bring the guys back, and we'll talk about, as they call it, the big boy playoffs. We'll be right back after this. Every week on Thursday and Saturday morning, get the latest in high school news from around the region in the Charlotte Observer's free newsletter, Talking Preps, the newsletter. Make sure you sign up now.
All right, guys, welcome back here. Talking Preps. We're going to break down the 1A through the 5A. We got the 4th round of the playoffs, got Thanksgiving Day practices. This ought to be fun. Let's start in the 1A. Let's take a look at last week's scores. In the West, had Robbinsville over East Columbus, South Davidson won. In the East, you had Northside and Wilson Prep winning. So that sets up the semifinals. South Davidson, when's the last time we ever saw that? I don't think ever in the 1A semifinals up in Robbinsville. And then in the East, you got Wilson Prep at Northside. Jim, I knew the answer to that. Never. South Davidson at Robbinsville. Is this going to be a good game, or is it going to kind of be what we expect? I think it's going to be what we expect, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think it's debating whether it's going to be a running clock or not.
I hope not. I am really thrilled about everything that they've done at South Davidson, everything from the top down. The principal, Chris Adams, who is a very successful baseball coach and then head football coach at Ledford. He got a great young head coach in David House. They've done a great job, and obviously it shows. But and I've had this conversation with the principal at South Davidson, and unfortunately, it is what it is. Robbinsville, an established power, an incredible roster, a lot of numbers, a lot of size, a great coaching staff. Probably going to be a tough game. The East is a little bit more compelling to me, Jim. What do you think here?
Wilson Prep had a pretty good statement win against Kip Pride. I will say though, Northside they've had really good defense, but they haven't played a team as tough as Wilson Prep. And I'll tell you what, when you play a tough schedule like Wilson Prep is and nobody 1A has played a tough schedule like Wilson Prep. It does add that extra element. I like Wilson Prep in this game.
You think that schedule matters, Dale?
I think it does. I like Wilson Prep here as well. I wish South Davidson a lot of luck. You'd love to see a team like that pull an upset off, but that's a big mountain to climb.
Sure. And the same could be said about Robbinsville. They went out and played Irwin, Franklin, Tuscola. They played a tough schedule as well, and they'll be more prepared, hence the 3 losses. But anyway, let's move up into the 2A, going into the quarterfinal round of the 2A. Obviously, there you see the teams that won last week: Corvian, Murphy, Mitchell, Starmount. Corvian has to travel all the way to Murphy. That's 2 back-to-back road trips in a row. Mitchell going up to Yadkin County to Starmount. And then in the East, East Bladen at Tarboro. Holmes, who has come on really strong the last 6 weeks or so of the season, going up to Warren County. Jim, I'll let you start in the East. I think it's still Tarboro and everybody else, but that Holmes-Warren game really intrigues me.
I saw Warren County play earlier on. Actually, this last Friday, they run the ball really good. They do not have a passing game. Their defense is pretty good. It's a little bit bend or break. I like Holmes in this game. I think Holmes is going to win. It's going to win.
Well, what do you see in the West, Dale?
I think Corvian's got a tough task, a great team. They got a long bus ride to get out there. I think that's got a chance of being a very good ball game, though, as long as Corvian's got their legs. I'm probably going to pick Corvian, but just because I picked them early in the playoffs. Otherwise, I think Mitchell's got a tough task against Starmount, quite honestly. I'm picking Starmount there and just wonder if Mitchell's going to be able to keep it inside of a 2-score game.
Thoughts, Jim?
Oh, I agree with Dale on that. I like Starmount. I think defense makes a big difference. I think Starmount's played more consistent D this year than Mitchell.
Yeah. Hard for me to go either direction, Corvian, Murphy. I think they're both really good in different ways. I think Corvian's got a lot more team speed, especially on that defensive front. I think it's going to challenge Murphy. My gut says Corvian, but the 5-hour ride out there could be a little bit of an equalizer. So, we'll have to see. But anyway, it's going to be a great game. Let's move on up to the 3A ranks again. Quarterfinals. Last week had some big winners. Obviously, Eastern Randolph, Lincolnton, Shelby, West Davidson. In the East, you had some big games as well, especially that Farmville Central with a mild upset, I would say, over Martin County. In the quarterfinals in the East, you got Farmville Central at James Keenan, Kinston at Northeastern. In the West, Shelby at Eastern Randolph. That's going to be a big game. West Davidson at Lincolnton. Jim, I'll let you go first.
Farmville Central, James Keenan. I'm going with James Keenan. I think James Keenan is the favorite to emerge from the East. That Kinston Northeastern game is going to be intriguing, to say the least. That game could go either way. In the West, that Shelby Eastern Randolph game is going to be a really good one, too. I like Shelby, and I'm going to take Lincolnton over West Davidson.
Dale, what's your thoughts?
I tend to agree. I think I'm taking Northeastern, but I think that's going to be a great ball game. I do like Keenan coming completely out of the East. I think Shelby East Randolph's going to be a phenomenal game. West Davidson and Lincolnton, I know the records look close, but I just don't foresee the game being a highly competitive game.
Yeah, hard to say. This is a special year for that West Davidson team. They've had a tremendous year, and they continue to get better. So hats off to Coach Brian Billings and them. The team that I like the most, and kind of contrary to a lot of people, is Northeastern. They've played an extremely tough, aggressive schedule. They've taken some lumps throughout the season. I think that they're going to match up well. But they've kind of been up and down. They've at times seemingly played to the level of the team they're playing. So this could still be a little bit of a trap against a really good Kinston team who has 2 elite wide receivers and a quarterback that can sling it. So I think it's going to make for some good games. But anyway, let's move on up to the 4A ranks here. Quarterfinals once again. Had some great games last week, especially that Burns Brevard game, Brevard holding on, the High Brighton Kramer game. Pisgah Mount Pleasant was an overtime game. Had some great ball games, which is going to set up some incredible matchups this week. In the West, you got Pisgah going up to Brevard. That's 2 coaches, from the same coaching tree. Coach Luke Coleman came from Pisgah, so that's going to be a great game, conference game, rematch of a conference game, and then Maiden at High Brighton. High Brighton's had a great season, and they're still, the one thing about High Brighton, they're a young team. I think High Brighton's a year away from kind of seeing the potential that they've got with this particular run of talent. In the East, Central Davidson at Reidsville, Southwest Edgecombe at West Craven. Jim, I'll let you go first.
Tell you what, the game that I'm thinking about going to is the Central Davidson and Reidsville. And I got to give a shout out to Davidson County. They got 3 teams. They're not notoriously known for having great football programs, still in the playoffs in the 4th round, Central, East, and West Davidson. I think Reidsville will be favored in this, but I'll tell you what, that Central Davidson offense is looking pretty good. And I do like West Craven over Southwest Edgecombe. In the West, that Pisgah, Brevard, I'll tell you what, I think if there's any team that's a Houdini right now, it's Brevard. They've won close game after close game. I think we're going to have another close one. I think that they played earlier on the season. It may have gone to overtime. I'm going to take High Brighton over Maiden in another close game. I think this is going to be a great week for 4A football.
Agreed. Dale.
I believe I agree with – I shouldn't say I believe. I agree with most of what Jim said there. I do like Brevard. I think I see a potential close game. I really think the better match as far as a competitive game is going to be that Maiden High Brighton game. And I like Reidsville and West Craven coming out of the East. I'd like to see Central Davidson, though. I'd love to see a Western team take over the East.
Well, I saw Central Davidson last week, Friday night, and they are a unique team. Got a great offense. They have potential to score. Very, very hard to read offense. And I think that what makes them good kind of fits into a little bit of a weakness, if there is one, for Reidsville. And I just think that the incredible athleticism, the ability, the pursuit ability, some of the speed off the edges could actually work against Reidsville, just given the type of offense that Central Davidson works. So I do think that it's a little bit of an equalizer, why I do think Reidsville is far better talent-wise, and I think Reidsville probably will win this game, but, it would not surprise me to see it be a tough game down the stretch. Going back to that Pisgah Brevard game, that was a 36-30 game earlier in the season. Again, rivals, coaches that know each other really well. So I think that's got potential to be a Donnybrook of a game. High Brighton, again, I think I like them, but Maiden's played a tough schedule as well. They went out, Coach Wilburn, and played a super aggressive schedule. So it's going to be a tough one. The only one that I feel really good about is West Craven in the East. I think West Craven is a phenomenal team. They are loaded, and I think that there's just kind of one of them team of destinies for them. But either way, it's going to be a good round of football. And one more, let's go up and hit the 5A before we get into some of the big boy football. 5A quarterfinals, I think this is going to be good as well. Again, last week we had some great games. I think, Jim, you said that was a statement victory for Crest over East Lincoln, which I agree. Hickory over Franklin, Robbinsville, J.M. Robinson over Oak Grove, South Point over Monroe. Then you see in the East, you had Croatan, Jim Hunt, Jacksonville, and Northside, and then Rocky Mount with the wins. Sets up some big-time games. Crest at South Point. Crest on the road against South Point, a team that they beat 42-7 earlier in the year. South Point has ended some Crest hopeful championship runs in the last few years in the playoffs, so I would not write that game off at all, even though I think we all agree Crest is the best team. Hickory at Robinson. unique thing. Coach Joe Glass going back to the school he used to coach at, so that'll be kind of cool. Croatan at Hunt. Croatan, great run. Hunt kind of both of these teams just seem to find ways to win. Rocky Mountain at Northside. That East, I think any of these teams remaining in the East can win. Jim, I'll give you time. What's your thoughts?
Well, I was going to say in the East, you're talking about two just almost coin flip of matchups between Croatan and Hunt and Rocky Mountain and Northside. I'm going to go with the home teams in both of them, but I could be wrong on both of those picks. I think it's going to be close either way. I'll take Crest over South Point. I do know that Crest did win big time the first the regular season. However,
it'll be closer.
It's going to be closer, and those who ignore history are doomed to repeat it. Sometimes those who dwell on history are also doomed to repeat it. So I'm sure Crest is going to have positive thoughts. That Hickory and J.M. Robinson, that's going to be a really good game. And my heart picks Hickory, but you know what? Sometimes my head's going to go with J.M. Robinson. I'll have to figure this out by Wednesday. I just don't know. I think that game could go either way.
Dale.
Traditionally, South Point's a great playoff playing team. And they have shut down Crest many times. There is a gap between Crest and everybody else, I think, in 5A. I think Crest is the best team, and there is a gap between them and your South Point. So there's going to have to be a lot of things, I think, go positively right, but I do not in any way see another big blowout like what we saw before. But can South Point pull it within 2 scores? Maybe, I don't know. That's gonna be tough. I like that Hickory J.M. Robinson game as well. I think that's gonna be a phenomenal ball game.
Slobber knocker.
I agree with. Yes, exactly. I think J.M. Robinson is gonna get an opportunity to show people that they are better than a lot of people have given them credit to be, and I think they've kind of flown under the radar. In the East, I agree with you, Jim, 100%.
Yeah, the East to me is the toughest to predict because they're 4 really good, evenly matched teams. I think talent-wise, Northside might be a little bit above the rest, but I think that's negligible. I think that they're all going to be really good games. But anyway, guys, let's take a quick break here, talking preps, and we'll come back and we'll break down the 6A through the 8A. So we'll be right back. Hey, this is Chris Hughes, host of the Observer's Talking Preps. Proud to say that our show is growing and growing and growing, and we've got a brand new schedule. Mondays at 8 p.m., get our Players of the Week. No more waiting. Then on Tuesday, 8 p.m., catch me and Sam and all the guys of the #1 show in high school football in North Carolina, Talking Preps. Wednesdays, 8:30, Dale Ross and Jim West will host Talking Preps OT Live, talking about statewide issues, trends, and interacting with viewers. And don't miss our post-game show Fridays at 11 p.m. where we wrap up all of the night's actions. At Talking Preps, we've got you covered all week. All right, guys, we got the crew here now. That must mean that the matchups are really heating up. So let's go back to it. Talking Preps got the 4th round of the playoffs coming up, and let's look at the 6A going into the quarterfinals. Let's take a peek at last week's winners. Ashbrook in a close one over Greensboro Dudley, Northern Guilford over Kings Mountain, Sun Valley big over Freedom, Watauga over Catholic, and then there you see that 35-34 victory for Jacksonville over Scotland, Middle Creek in another tight one, Northern Nash in a tight one, Union Pines in a tight one, all tight games in the East. I think this week's going to be no exception. Look at the matchups for Friday night. Ashbrook at Northern Guilford, Sun Valley on the road in Watauga. I think I looked at the weather. It's going to be about 27 around kickoff, so it's definitely going to be a cold one on the mountain. There's destined to be some breeze up there. Looking in the East, Middle Creek going to Northern Nash, Union Pines at Jacksonville. These are some really good games. Jim, I'll let you start here in the East. Just talk about these 2 Eastern games.
I'll tell you, I'm going to start with the bottom one. That Jacksonville is hosting Union Pines. That game could really go either way. I think this is going to be a great game. I've been big on Union Pines this whole season. Jacksonville had a pretty good statement win against Scotland. They came back from that. I think this game could really go either way, but I'm going to go with the road team. I think I'm going to go with Union Pines on that one. Northern Nash, I'm going to go with them over Middle Creek, although that's going to be another good one. I think Northern Nash just played just a little bit better during the season. Maybe their defense is a little bit more consistent.
All right. Any other you guys got any thoughts on these Eastern games? Some good teams.
I just think that go ahead, Coach Hales.
No, it's just the big thing that jumps out at me is just how competitive, and I think, Chris, you'd mentioned it already, how competitive each of those games were. I mean, you get that 10-point Union Pine Williams game, but like everything else is a possession or less. And I mean, it's, that's one of the things you love about the playoffs is it gets closer and closer. Like these teams are just going to get closer and closer. And this is what all these kids work for is just that opportunity to make the play to change a game. And, and that's the thing. You talk to these kids all the time about any play could change the outcome of the game. You just don't know when that play is going to happen. And there's proof positive right there in the East last round. They were all tight games.
Hey, Coach Hales, just a question about Union Pines. Other than their 5-point loss to Pinecrest, who obviously was a really good team, they have had pretty much blowout wins all season until this week. They had the competitive victory over Burlington Williams. Does playing a close game finally after a lot of blowouts, how does that help them in prepping for potentially a really good game against Jacksonville, or does it matter?
No, it definitely helps. Because being in those games, it forces you to sharpen up as a coach also, because a lot of times when you're in these, uncompetitive games, like you get through your script or whatever, and it's like you're in cruise control already. So it forces the coaches to, kind of to ramp their game back up. But again, just to be in those situations where like this play is critical. Like you don't have a lot of critical plays in a game where you're up 49-0. So being able to, focus in on that. No, I think it's absolutely huge that they had one of those games already.
Dale, you had a thought. I'm sorry.
It's just, I'm sure we'll address it Wednesday night, Jim, but you're insane on Union Pines. No, you're not insane, but I'm picking. I think Jacksonville has got a great body of work. I don't want to jump on that sentimental Coach Till bandwagon thing of a pick of a game. We like him. Great coach, got a great season. I think Jacksonville's got a really good ball team, and I like Northern Nash.
Yeah, Northern Nash has lost like 5 games in the last 6 years, or 6 games in the last 6 years. Been to a state championship game, been to the regional games many years. They have been an elite team on that upper echelon the last 5-6 years. Does that matter against an upstart team? And I hate to use the term upstart, but this is, Middle Creek used to be year in, year out. They played in 3 or 4 consecutive 4A semifinals against Wake Forest about a decade ago. But since that run, they haven't been on the same level. And now they're back to a regional final against a team that's been there just about every year. Does that matter?
I think it does.
I think from Northern Nash's, from Northern Nash's perspective, and this is something Sam kind of mentioned earlier. We're, talking about him and Baker, like they've got a plan in place for this week, and this is always a big stumbling block, especially if you're in, this Thanksgiving week for the first time where you've got days off and you're trying to play a practice around that. So I think being there, I think that makes a big difference. And it's a lot less things that you've got to worry about. Like you've already got your plan in place. You've already got your template there. So I think that is a big advantage for Northern Nash.
So Coach, isn't it also an advantage for the team having that? What I like to study about teams and try to teach my son by letting him visit championship caliber teams is the way they conduct themselves and that air that they carry about themselves. And having been there, as Chris laid out, they are becoming a kind of a known power. Yeah. Don't you think that also adds some element to them?
Oh, of course it does. Because you go into the season, you expect to be here. Like Coach Capote Wedding, like they expect to be practicing on Thanksgiving. So you have that air of confidence about you every week, and especially now during the playoffs. Like this is what we do. This is what we always do. We're always here. So yeah, that's just that confidence, and that and people say pressure only happens when happens to you when you're not prepared. So it just removes an aspect of that pressure because they know they're prepared. That they know their coaches know what they're doing because they do it every year.
Yeah. Hey, they don't call the stadium in Red Oak at Northern Nash Death Valley for nothing. Playing between those pine trees. It's going to get a little chilly down there Friday night. It's going to be a great game. Let's move on to the West, gentlemen. Ashbrook going up to Northern Guilford. Sun Valley up at Watauga. Dale, I'm going to let you go first.
You know, I really like Ashbrook, and I've liked them all season. They have a great defense. They've got an extremely tough ball game this week. I think I do like them coming out of this game, but overall in the West now, I'm really liking Sun Valley. I like what Sun Valley's entire body of work has been the entire season. Uh, I think they are the kind of team that can give Watauga a lot of trouble. Now they're going to have to deal with a lot of elements Friday night.
Yeah, I think this is a tough game for them.
Say again, Sam.
I said I agree with you. I think like it's a tough. The elements are a factor. If it's going to be below 32 there, it's a tough matchup for Sun Valley. I still like Sun Valley. They've been battle tested, but those elements are different up there. Are they going to be able? Their quarterback, that lefty, he's special. I'd be curious to know is his hands a little bit. I don't know his hand size is big if he's just a great talented quarterback. But when the cold weather gets colder, does he have a smaller hand size? Those things matter in a game like this, believe it or not. So I'd be curious to know those things. But I think that Sun Valley, like you said, I was just piggybacking off of you. I like them a lot.
Yeah, the way that stadium is laid out too, you can maybe have some dampness set in as well. Just humidity can set down. It's a great stadium, great environment, but cold. It gets very cold up there. You can have wind. You can have a lot of other elements that can bring itself to bear in this game that could create some problems for Sun Valley if they're playing in a 70-degree weather and great conditions. I think Sun Valley can run all over, or not run, but throw all over them. But in a game like this up in their turf, that's going to be a tough ball game. But I do like Sun Valley.
I like, and I think one thing too, as far as the weather aspect to it, like it's going to come down like with the coaches at Sun Valley in this case, like. Is this something they're going to be harping on all week? Like, guys, it's going to be cold. Guys, we got to do this. It's going to be cold. It's going to be this. Like, or is it like, hey, guys, here's like on Monday, you get together. Forecast is this. We're going to have this. Like, that's it. Like, we're not going to talk about it anymore. But I think, like, if you just keep beating that thing over the head all week, like, now they're worried. Baker talked about make the thing the thing. Well, in that case, then the thing becomes the weather. Like, you can't beat the weather, so it's like they got to stay focused on what they got to do as far as Watauga goes. Like, again, have your plan in place, like, if you got your sideline heaters or what have you. But that's not something you could dwell on as a coaching staff this week. Like I said, like, you just put it out there. Here's the forecast. Make sure you're ready. All right, here's what we're doing on 1st and 10.
Yeah,
but they do need to make sure they carry under, what base layer gear to keep themselves warm. They will have to drive that in, but I do believe you're correct. You don't make it something that they're thinking about. And so is on the bus ride up, that's all they're thinking about. We're going to freeze, we're going to freeze. We're going to freeze.
Yeah, like Brian said, you emphasize that both teams are playing in the same weather. You don't, some coaches like to try to psych their teams out. I'm not going to wear sleeves, or I'm not going to wear a toboggan or gloves. You let the kids do whatever makes them comfortable. If it makes them comfortable to wear sleeves, then wear sleeves. If it makes you feel better not to wear sleeves, don't wear sleeves. But don't harp on it. It's cold for both teams. Go play.
Just don't put Vaseline on your arms if you play offense. Don't do that.
By the way, just the weather update. I looked at the most recent forecast. 7 p.m. Boone, 26 degrees, 15-mile-per-hour winds, 5% chance of precipitation.
That wind is the problem I would look at.
Yeah.
Hey, Sam, or Hales, either one of y'all, Watauga is a very well offensive coach team. Coach Ryan Havoc, they run that double wing. They do a lot of unique things. I think it requires you to be really disciplined with your assignment-based football from a defensive perspective. How much extra time do you put on your scout team offense trying to simulate that look, or can you do that?
I mean, you can't simulate it to the fullest effect, but you have – every – coach goes through option type football. Is that what they run option, or they run what does Watauga run?
They got a little bit of everything.
A little bit of a double wing option.
Right.
A little bit more
it matters. Wing T and option are two different worlds in my opinion. But I think Sun Valley's defensive front is good. Like that's one of their strongest attributes. I think they're very explosive on offense. Their quarterback is very very good at putting the ball where he needs to do, and he's a leader. But their defensive front is really good. They're very stout at the D line, and so I think that matters in this game that they can isolate the line of scrimmage a little bit, and so that's kind of critical for them.
And
All
I
right.
think too,
Jim, any final thoughts?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Jim, do you have any final thoughts on the West? Anybody else?
Yeah, I was going to say either one of those top games in the West. They could really go either way. The weather elements that I think is probably not as big of a deal that I'm thinking of for kids. I mean, when I was a kid, weather just didn't matter quite as much to me. When I'm younger now, I'm like old. It's cold and wet and damp. Doesn't sound all that good. I think those are going to be great games. I think that Watauga Sun Valley games, everything's right about North Carolina high school football.
Agreed. All right, gentlemen. Well, hey, if no more thoughts on 6A, let's move on to the 7A. It's going to get big. Fight Club going on Friday night. Just taking a look at last week's games. Big winners were obviously Grimsley, Independence, Reagan, Weddington, Clayton in the East, Cardinal Gibbons, Garner, Southeast Raleigh, which is going to set up some great games. In the East, you got Southeast Raleigh at Clayton, Garner at Cardinal Gibbons, and some enormous games in the West. Independence at Weddington, Reagan at Grimsley. Jim, let's start in the East with you. Your thoughts on these two big games?
Southeast Raleigh at Clayton. This is a rematch. Southeast Raleigh won that the first game during the regular season. It's tough to beat a really good team, and Clayton's a very good team twice. I really have to think about this one. It could really go either way. I've been leaning a little bit towards Clayton, but you know what? Southeast Raleigh, they had a really good statement win against Cleveland, so let me think a little bit more about that one. Gardner and Cardinal Gibbons, I'm going with Gibbons. I think it will be a competitive game, but Gibbons just seems to be a little bit more consistent this year.
And I think for me, it's probably Gibbons coming out of the East period, unless somebody just proves me wrong.
I mean, I think Southeast Raleigh has one of the most talented rosters there is in the East. So I think
Coach Campbell's a great coach.
Yeah, and Campbell, if you go back, I mean, he's not new to this. I mean, he was one of the defensive staff members or defense coordinator when Vance was making their run. So he's been a part of this for a long time. He understands this type of element, going into the quarterfinals and then to the semifinals and championship round. So he's prepared. He's a great coach. I think he's been, you're talking about a talented roster. I think Southeast Raleigh has the most talent out of all four of these teams.
The thing I'm seeing, though, looking over there is 47, 40, 63, and 49 is your winning scores. Like who's playing defense over on that side? And it's just like, is that the deal? I guess Clayton is. It looks like it. But, I mean, that's an awful lot of points. Like, to me, that's surprising this late in the playoffs, and obviously those are the winning teams, but they still gave up 19, 26, and 37 points. Like, that's a lot of points to be given up this late in the playoffs still.
Mm-hmm.
All right, got anything, Sam?
Let's get to the West, dadgummit.
All right, well, let's get to the West. Sam, I'll start with you. What kind of script does DJ need to do at Indy to be able to beat Weddington?
Well, personally, I think this game is way closer than it was a few years ago when Independence made their run and played Weddington in the semifinals. I think Independence roster can match up with Weddington's roster, and they're clicking on all cylinders. I picked Independence going in when the brackets came out. That's before I knew Grimsley's quarterback was coming back. But I do, Weddington, like I said, Andy Capone, been there, done that. I was trying to make a splash. I'm pulling for DJ's part of our conference, but I also, Andy Capone's a great friend of mine too. That is a great matchup. I would love to know who's going to win in the trenches. You got that great front seven from Weddington. They got an experienced champion as well, on their team, and KD Cotton's on that team, and he's making an impact on offense and defense for Weddington. So, can Independence slow down Weddington a little bit offensively? I think so. If Independence is able to get their guys on the perimeter, I think they can take advantage of some of the things that Weddington might have flaws at. And but if they're overwhelming with their front seven, getting pressure, making them make fast decisions, stopping the run game, then it's going to be a long night. But I'm going to roll with what I picked before. I think Independence can get this out of here. And then obviously, I think Grimsley's just head and shoulders a little bit better. Reagan, though, great call by Hales, right? I mean, Coach said it. I mean, not many people picked Reagan except Hales. Hales said that running game, that running back is different. And their running game did uphold. They won by 1 point. Hales, is that what the score was? Yeah,
I think
right.
it was, yeah.
Yeah, 32-31. I see it now. But I mean, Hales called it. I mean, he said I went against, Mooresville, and he said we ran the ball pretty well, with our circumstances. And he's like, Reagan's got a different running game than us right now. And so he called that. So can they isolate that game and make it close? Who knows? We'll see.
Hales, Indy very as well as anybody. Give us your thoughts on both these games.
I think with the Independence Weddington game, I think 28 is going to be your magic number there. I think whoever gets to 28 points is going to win that game. I think both of them defensively are probably, I think Independence is better defensively than people give them credit for. So I think they're going to be able to hold Weddington down, a little bit. And I think, Weddington's defense, like, everybody talks about, they're a darn good defense. But, Independence does a great job spacing things out, giving, Jade a great opportunity to run the ball. Street can make things happen with his feet as well. But no, I think that one's going to come down to, like I said, first one to get to 28 points is probably going to win that one. Grimsley is just Grimsley. I think they would probably win this one going away. I think Reagan, it was a great opportunity for them. Gary, you like to use the, styles makes fights. I think Mooresville matched up really well for Reagan, last Friday night. I think Grimsley just probably has way too much for them. I know seeing them before, probably helps out a little bit. But, again, I just think when you have as much as Grimsley does, you have to do a lot of things to help your opponent win.
Yeah. Gary.
In the Independence Weddington game, I think Independence has a shot. One thing I noticed, I went to their game Friday night, is Independence has picked up a kicker that they didn't have early in the season. This guy's got a leg on. I mean, he was kicking them in the end zone against Richmond. And, if they can make Weddington, go 80 yards. And I think Independence has almost got to play an error-free game as far as turnovers, not get behind the chains where they can, those pass rushers for Weddington can line up on 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and long and rush the passer. I think Independence got some problems, but they can stay ahead of the chains. I think they can make this a good game. I think it'll be closer than people expect. I think Weddington would still have to be the favorite. But I think Independence is going to give them a game. Second game, I just think Grimsley has too much for Reagan. I don't think that one will be as close as the Independence Weddington game.
Jim.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't see that Weddington Independence game like they're being bigger than a 7-8 point separation throughout the whole game. Like, I don't think either one of them gets up even as much as 14 at any point. I think it's close the whole way.
I mean, I think so too. Like Hale said, like I do not think it's the same. It was what did they play 3 years ago or 2 years ago in the semifinals? 2 years ago. Okay. Yeah, I just think, and that's the year that you guys beat Weddington, right?
Maybe. Yeah, I think so.
Did. Yeah, you did. Yeah. I mean, like you said, both of these teams are the hottest teams. You're talking about, in my opinion, the two teams that have caught fire right now are Weddington and Independence, and they're clashing right now. You know what I'm saying? So, like, they're both playing at their top level of the season right now. So this is a magnificent game. Jim West.
Well, I'm going to do the easy one. I think Grimsley will handle Reagan. I just don't see a competitive game. Weddington, Independence, I'm going to tell a quick story, make it really short. I grew up in Stanley County, and I know all about having a chip on your shoulder about that. Weddington right now, they're like, you know what, these people in Charlotte, they laugh at us or they discount us and everything. They're going to have a chip like you wouldn't believe on that shoulder, and I think they're going to be loaded for bear against Independence. I don't think this game is going to be nearly as close as a lot of people think it is. I'm going with Weddington.
Wow. He said big. Say the point spread.
I won't say it. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But
so you're saying Madden? It's a Madden 21 point. They're cutting the game off. It's 21 points or more. They're cutting the game off.
I'm
Say
going
it,
by the
Jim.
gospel.
Say
I'm
it,
going by
Jim.
the gospel of Jim. I think Weddington is going to have their defense is really going to pick up on Independence really well. I think it's going to be a fun game for those that live in Union County.
Say the score, Jim. Let's go,
Oh,
baby.
you want to say a score? I'll say something like 31-14.
Dale, give us your gospel.
Okay. Grimsley, first of all, just Grimsley. Reagan, sorry. I was at the, I went to the Independence Butler game and then the Independence Weddington game. And what happened in that game, I'm concerned a little bit about if that can repeat. Now, Sam made a great point. Who's going to win the trenches? I don't think that Independence has to win all the trench battles or even a majority of the trench battles, but they can't lose a major majority of the trench battles, which is what I would worry about. If they're able to maintain some kind of ability to give their quarterback time to throw the ball, maybe find some nice lanes to run in here and there, I think the game could be very, very close. Because I think Independence has got the ability to score as long as that line gives them a little bit of time to be able to make the play happen. I think DJ will not just script, but I think he'll make good adjustments as the game goes on to be able to put his team into those kinds of positions. But they can't they can't get physically beat like they were beat in that playoff game, because that was brutal. It was just absolutely one of the worst physical encounters I've seen of two teams that late in the playoffs. Reminded me of like us taking an Olympic team up and playing Mallard Creek back when they were in the heyday. And the principal came and asked Coach Shuford, did he really want to go play that game? That's kind of what that game was like before. Independence keeps that from happening, it's going to be a ball game.
All right, guys. Well, there you have it. There, incredible breakdown of the 7A. Let's go now. Take a quick peek at the 8A, the semifinals. We got the bye the following week heading into the state championship. So this one's going to be for advancement into the championship. Looking back at last week's quarterfinal scores: Huff over West Forsyth, West Charlotte over Myers Park, Hoggard over Rollsville Big, Millbrook Big over Jordan. Looking ahead this week in the East, you've got Millbrook at Hoggard, West Charlotte at Huff. Jim, I'll start with you in the East. Any thoughts on that big game? I think you're on mute, Jim.
Well,
I'm sorry about that. I don't know how I did that.
He done said so much about Weddington, you know what I'm saying, that he had to mute himself. I love it.
I had to mute myself, that's for sure. Sorry about that, guys. That game's going to be at the Port City. I've seen Hoggard play earlier on the season. They have a very good passing game, a good defense. Millbrook's defense is just something that it's a different level. They have a very nasty defense. I'm going with Millbrook. I think it will be a competitive game, but I'm going with Millbrook by a touchdown.
In Hoggard, the one that took out Millbrook last year in the playoffs?
I couldn't tell you for sure, to be honest with you. I can't remember what I had for lunch this afternoon.
I could be wrong. Where's my East guys? Do we got people that represent the East on here?
Hoggard's a really good team.
You're killing me, Sam. You're killing me.
Sam, Hoggard's a really good team this year. They're deserving of that 12-0 record, but man, Millbrook's that's a solid football team.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, I think Millbrook's defense, and they're amazing. They're doing a great job. I'm saying, I think Hoggard, I would like to know someone to research it real quick. I think Hoggard took out Millbrook last year in the playoffs.
They beat them 28-21.
They did?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Grant know a little something about the East. So here's the deal. We all said
you've been studying like crazy, Sam. You know that because it might be your feature opponent.
Roseville is the most talented team, in the East, and they got steamrolled by Hoggard, 40-14.
Yeah,
I mean that's a big statement. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is definitely within a one-score game, the Millbrook and Hogger game. It would not surprise me at all if it's within 6 points.
I think it's going to be a tough game, but I think Millbrook, in my opinion, they are on a crash course to the state championship game, and I just think Millbrook's got an incredible defense. I think they've just got a little bit more edge speed and a little bit more athleticism on the front side. Both teams are incredibly well coached. I know that Hoggard probably got the upper hand with the quarterback in Matthew Boring, but I think Millbrook is better just about everywhere else. So that's where I'd probably give the edge. But let's look at that game. Sam, we're going to talk to Coach Baker here in a little bit. I want to give you the stage. I want to find out what you think about this game against Huff.
It's what we all said when the brackets came out. Go with Hale said. He says West Charlotte and Huff, and I'm glad it's here now, so we don't have to talk about it no more. But we're going to have to talk about it tonight, obviously. I mean, Huff is what it is. They've beaten us 14 times in a row. They've earned the home field advantage. They ain't going to want to play anywhere else. I'm fine with that, too. At the end of the day, I like my team. I think we win. Simplest way I can say it. I think we go in the last 15 times playing them. I think at the end, it'll be 14-1.
Sam, who's the fish?
Huh?
Who's the fish?
They don't have one. They're good. They're good, but do we have more sharks than they do? That's the whole key. And
that's right.
And they don't have a fish. They're a well coached. If you go on the message boards, I mean, if you go to like a Madden coaching rating, Huff has got a 99, and West Charlotte's coaching rating is like a 62. So hopefully our players can step up and do what they got to do to get us up, because the coaching is totally different, obviously, because they got an advantage there. So I'm just hoping my players can rise up and overcompensate for us.
Hey, do you think you speaking of your players and their coaching, following their victory over South Point at Bank of America, Coach Baker said that they're the Kings of the Queen City. Obviously, that was a little bit of a jab at the Kings of the West Side, West Charlotte. How did your players react to that? Do you think that they'll remember that statement?
I mean, we came up with the saying, and, we earned it last year, winning the championship. This is a new year, so it's still to be determined. So, they crowned themselves. That first game, we lost the first game. We were more upset about our loss than what they said. The key is how much have we improved from our losses in the year. So there's only one team in the 8A that's got losses, and it's us. And have we improved from that? We'll see. To be determined.
Hells, what do you think? You've played these guys.
Yeah, I think the big thing with this game is going to be about the emotion part. Like, who could get past that? Because again, I mean, it's what we've all been talking about. We were hoping that it would not happen until this round, and we finally got here. Congratulations, obviously, Sam, Coach, and your whole staff and everybody, but who's going to be able to handle the emotional part of this? Obviously, everybody's going to be going out there. Do you have something to prove, or are you trying to win the game? And I think that's going to be the biggest thing, because you're going to have a lot of kids out here that are going to be playing emotionally. And that's one thing that we talk about is you want to play with emotion. Whatever that emotion is that drives you, whether it's anger, whether it's fear, whether it's whatever it is, but don't be emotional. Don't, and one thing we talk about all the time, whatever happens out there, you have to act like that's exactly what you expected to happen on that play. Who's going to be able to do that more often? Because again, with the level of talent that's going to be on the field, there's going to be wow plays made all the time. Who's going to get more caught up in the wow plays versus who's going to be, just fundamentally sound play after play after play after play, not to be super cliche, but, ball security, it's the number one determinant, across all levels of football. Whoever wins the turnover battle wins the game way more often than not. So who's going to control the emotion? Who's going to be able to not get too high, not get too low when those big plays happen? And, I think to me, I'm going to go West Charlotte on this because, and I'm going to keep saying it, they've been here, they've been through this step, they've conquered this step, they've won a state championship. Huff hasn't done that yet. Show me, show us if you're that team and coach feels like he does, now it's time. Now it's time to make it happen. So, no, I lean towards West Charlotte because of the experience and not just being in these games, but winning these games last year. Over Huff that they haven't done it yet.
Hey, Gary, Coach Hales mentioned emotion. Is this going to be like the ultimate holler championship?
I think Sam's team knows how to play with emotion as far as, getting high and emotionally and knowing how to play that way. Because they have a lot of fun in practice. They've been in big games. This is not going to surprise them. I don't think his team will get too high because they play emotionally, but they're used to playing emotionally. And when you're used to playing that way, it's no big deal. However, what I think it comes down to is adjustments. They're both going to have to make adjustments. And I think Sam was correct. I think Huff has a better staff. Now, I think Sam is an awesome coach, but I think the guys around him defer to him so much that they don't put their stamp on the game the way I think Huff's staff puts their stamp on the game. Put it that way.
I like my staff. I love my staff.
You like your staff. I know you like your staff. It's the best staff you ever had. I see them standing around watching a lot.
Ain't no doubt about it.
Making adjustments. But I think it's going to come down to what the great orator Richard Morgan Fleer once said. To be the man, you got to beat the man. West Charlotte's the man. So,
well, I mean, they're saying we ain't the man because we ain't beat them 14 times in a row.
Yeah,
so that's what they say.
Y'all got the belt. They ain't won nothing.
I want to say something before.
You got to have a belt, man.
So I want to say something before we wrap up, Chris.
And here's my pick. If West Charlotte makes their extra points, they win. Okay? If they make their extra points, they win. If they miss one extra point and they're chasing it the rest of the night, I give it to Huff.
We're going for 2 now.
Dale.
All right. So, Sam, stop trying to self-motivate. You have a phenomenal staff. That is just completely BS.
And
your
Dale,
staff.
Dale.
And Gary's helping him. No, I know you didn't, but Sam is trying to say, and I don't believe that the gap between those two staffs is as big as I'm hearing, because Sam's got a fantastic defensive coordinator. Don't kid himself. I think Randy Long, he's got a head coach sitting on that staff helping him out. I think Sam's got a great staff. Sam's a great coach. I don't think it's coaching.
Don't forget about, a little John who's got like 19 state championships.
Exactly. So, but I want to say this, Sam. So my thoughts are that you guys have got the strength and speed to play. As I told you Friday night, I think this game is going to be a 21-14 kind of ball game. I think defenses are going to rule the roost here. I think both of you have the opportunity or the ability to win this game. I do agree with Hales that what you have is you guys were there last year. You won a state championship. There are guys on this team that have been there. So there's not this speed bump that you've got to get over, that mental thing. And Huff has still got to get over that mental thing. Final thing about mental or emotional. If you guys remember, I think it was, I know nobody's involved in this, but back in 2008, was it, when Huff beat Mallard Creek in the regular season? I think it was 2008, approximately. And then Huff went into the playoff game with just the highest emotion I've ever seen a team come in with, and they got blew out because emotion ruled them. They didn't control their emotions. So that would have to be a concern tonight. But from what I've seen, or Friday night, from what I've seen from both teams, though, Gary, And the answer to the question about holler test, holler thing, neither team does a lot of that pregame hollering stuff like Chambers and Mallard Creek used to do. And quite honestly, I think both teams keep their emotions in check, at least going into the game. It's how they carry it going throughout the game.
You know,
and
Sam,
do they let it?
Sam, what is your wide receiver's name?
Which one?
The one that's the best. Is it Dante?
We got Dante. We got Davion Jones. We got Rakim Finch. You know, we got.
Okay. I'm interested to see, does Huff leave their corner, their All-American corner, on one side the whole game, or do they let him travel?
They're going to let him travel with Dante. We know what they're going to do. They're going to travel. I mean, we'll say it on it. They're going to travel with two. Two's a good player. They think they know he's a good player. We met him in the 7-on-7, and you know they said, well, 9's not out here. It's a different if he's out here. And I said, no, ain't no doubt he's a good player. And I said, well, we ain't got our 9 either. That was at the time when KD wasn't. He was injured, but obviously we don't have 9 still. But we got another 9.
Yeah,
but
I like to see that. I want to see that matchup. I really want to see that matchup.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I think it's a totally different matchup in the game. I mean, I'm not gonna lay it out on the line and what I think the game matters in, but I think it's different than what anybody else is seeing right now. I think the game is gonna come down to something a little bit different, and I'm excited to see that. And I like us. I'll just say that.
Jim, close us out.
I think I'm gonna my prediction right now that West Charlotte's going to win in overtime, and it might even come to a field goal. I think West Charlotte is ready to win again, so I'm going West Charlotte.
Do you feel that good about your kicking game, Sam?
Hell's almost choked when he said field goal.
He said field goal, yeah, man.
Do you feel that good about your kicking game, Sam?
I do. I mean, we made what? 20-something out of 22 extra points. We've kicked the field goal in the last few games. Yeah, we've improved there greatly.
All right.
Sam, can I get a Ric Flair woo since y'all the man?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm gonna tell you what, I'm gonna have a hard time keeping these Gators down. That's all.
Hey, we've given Sam his floor. We're gonna put him in the back room and come back and bring on Coach Baker, Sean Baker Huff, and give him some thoughts as well. So come right back here with us. We're talking prep. So we also got Coach versus Coach coming up. So stay with us.
Hi, I'm Scott Fowler, sports columnist at the Charlotte Observer. I have been here 31 years, but you know what I never have had before here? A newsletter. I've got one now. It's free. I'd love you to sign up for it and get my take. Every single time I have a column, you'll see it first. Panthers, Hornets, college sports, high school sports, whatever controversies going on. Sign up for my free newsletter, and you will be able to get my column every single time earlier than anyone else.
All right, guys, we're back on Talking Preps. We have a treat today. That guy that Sam's been calling out all year, guess what? He's got him. We got Deshaun Baker, the Huff football coach. Coach, how you doing?
I'm good. How y'all doing?
All right, man. Everybody was saying you look a little tired. You've been up late watching that West Charlotte film.
Nah, man. We just got done game planning about 2 hours ago. You know, hey, it is what it is. Hey, Andy Reid said it best, man. It's still football. It's just football.
You gonna give us the breaking news and give us what the game plan is?
Hey, just be there.
Everybody's been looking forward to this game. I know you and Sam, you are friends. I know people think that there's some animosity there, but you guys have really done a good job of building this game up, the potential of this game, and now that we have it, how do you keep the kids from getting too hyped for a game that everybody wants to see?
Man, we just got to keep the main thing, man. We played at Bank of America Stadium against South Point. So we had the big stage already. None of our kids have been to the semifinals before. I've never been to the semifinals before as a head coach. So it's kind of our first together. You know what I mean? So we're just going to keep the main thing. We're going to do what got us there, and we ain't going to make it too big. Like, it's a big game, but we're going to do what we do.
Guys?
I mean, what's up? First of all, what's up, babe? It's good to see you, Coach.
What's up, Coach? How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Doing great. So I'm just going to ask the question and I'm sure you've heard it before. Why is this year different? Why is this year going to be the year?
Man, you know what? I honestly, man, we got a group of young kids, man, that just play football. Like they don't worry about nothing else. Like we don't have all the glitz and glamours with the 8 Power 4 kids and all that. We got a whole bunch of FCS kids and some Power 4 kids with it, some group of 5. Like we got a whole bunch of young kids and with pivotal areas that just play ball, man. They don't worry about nothing else but playing football and doing what they're supposed to do. So we just keep the main thing. And this team right here, man, I tell everybody the first 5 games, I think we was down in the fourth quarter, 3 of those 5 games. In previous years, I tell anybody this, I tell our coaching staff this, we'd have lost 3 of those games last year, just because of we'd have been bickering about what's going wrong. These boys, something go wrong, they just go out and play ball and get the ball back. Or, if something going wrong offensively, we get the ball and we go down and score. So I just say, man, these boys, they got one main goal, and that's to get to the championship game and win it. And, it's Huff versus Huff all the time. We tell our kids that all the time.
Coach, Sam has been saying that, you wouldn't move the game even if you had a chance.
Absolutely not.
I want you to answer for yourself instead of letting Sam speak for
you. I wouldn't.
Okay,
They got to come to Huff. Like we don't work hard to get this number 1 seed, and they got to come. They got to come to Bailey Road. If he wanted to move the game, they should have won all their games. They probably been the 1 seed, and they could have moved to the Panther Stadium. You know what I mean? But they got to come to Bailey Road, and it is what it is.
So, Coach, I've been telling them that your one goal is to play the last game of the season, and you're going to do everything it takes, and that's why you would even begin to consider moving that game.
No.
And, it sounded good to play at Panther Stadium. I'd love to see it, but no way.
Right.
Well, I mean, I think. Go ahead.
I know you've been studying the film, and we won't ask you to give away the game plan, but is there one key that you think you must be better than West Charlotte at on Friday night? Not
giving up explosive plays.
Okay.
Not giving up explosive plays. I mean, everybody knows West Charlotte talented, and I've been on record saying that they're probably the most talented team in the state. There's no doubt about it. But I don't think they play nobody like us. I know everybody keeps saying, "Oh, Huff, they can't handle West Charlotte speed and physicality and all this stuff," but they hadn't seen nobody like us either. And so, we ready to play and, let the chips fall where they may.
How determined are you guys, Coach? Because every year, Huff has a really good team. They win the conference that West Charlotte's been a part of, and they make a playoff run, and it doesn't end well. It ends at Grimsley a yard short. It ends at Grimsley with a bad pass or something. How hungry is this group to finally get over the hump?
Man, I think they're really hungry. I mean, they want to be the first to do it. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be the first to do it. I thought we worked hard, man. These boys worked their tail off. We had practice every morning in the summer at 5:30 in the morning, starting practice at 6. So, just to see everything, come into play right now, having a chance to go to the state championship game, playing a home game in front of our home crowds, probably going to be packed out. I think they're more determined than ever. We're going to study the film and we're going to do what we do. But, at the end of the day, like I said, at 7 o'clock, the ball got to be kicked off and you can hoot, holler, scream, do what you want to. You got to play football at 7 o'clock.
All right, Coach Dexter brought up, that you've had teams in the past that just could not get past the hump to get to a state championship game, whether in the semifinals, the quarterfinals, or whatever. And there are practically no guys on this team that's been a part of a lot of those teams in the past. But do you feel like your players today are playing for Huff High School, playing for all those guys that couldn't quite get there and trying to get that next game for all the guys that ever put on the helmet for you guys?
I believe so, but I also believe they're playing for each other that's on this team as well, because the group of seniors that I have this year, they've been on those teams that won the Grimsley 3 years and lost. And they've seen what the seniors didn't do before them and what we need to put forth the effort and whatever. But I think the main thing is they playing for each other. You know what I mean? Like, yes, they want to win for the kids that came before them, but at the end of the day, this team is the group, the love they have for each other. They fuss fight at practice all day long, argue with each other all day long, but on Friday they come together for one common goal. And so I think, the biggest thing is they want to see each other succeed.
So, do you guys bring up, previous seasons at all? Like you get in those moments. I know sometimes, if there's not a focus in practice, like, will you bring it up, or do you just, your past doesn't equal your future? You just leave that stuff in the past and you don't talk about it?
I don't really talk about it much. We might talk about getting over the hump, or, a player here killing us against Grimsley, and, what we didn't do to prepare that week of practice and stuff like that. But I try not to bring up the past on, what happened before, because these kids had nothing to do with that. So, we just try to keep the main thing and push forward. But occasionally we will say something about it here or there. But I don't dwell on it. Once it's over, it's over. We talked about it, had our wet eyes last year, and we try not to have wet eyes this year.
Coach.
Coach, I'm gonna set up a question. I'm getting accused of being a fan or whatever by Sam. Sam told me there's a line drawn and I can't cross and come over to his side. And the reason is because one of the things I've noticed in watching you this year and in previous seasons, I noticed one thing different about your team, and that is they appear to be, to me, and you've kind of elaborated on that, to be more focused on their goals this year than maybe they have been in the past. Whereas rolling into Grimsley, I sensed that the team had more of an ego confidence. And my question to you is, what have y'all done to help focus the guys on just your goal of making it to a state championship, and just what it looks to be a goal of each week of just winning this game and moving on and not worrying about past or present or future?
Man, just understand and let them know the standard is a standard. Like, I'm an animated coach, man. Like I get on my kids about everything. I punish them for some of the stupidest things they may think. But for me, like I tell them, the things you do off the field, it correlates to the field. And when you think you're doing whatever you're doing off the field, it won't hurt you on the field, you'll lie. And so I think, man, just them understanding my standard and what we're gonna hold them to day in and day out. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. And again, I got a whole bunch of kids that just want to play ball. Like they don't worry about all the recruiting stuff right now. They young. You know what I'm saying? All my older guys, they got what they're gonna get at this point. And my young guys, they just playing ball. They're not worried about offers. They're not doing nothing. They just, they're eager to learn the game, and they're just playing the game the way it needs to be played.
Coach, I can verify you don't play around when it comes to discipline, because I had a couple of your boys in driver's ed this summer. You kind of handle things for me. Yeah. But my question is, you got the biggest game of the season coming up, and this is what both of you wanted. Right. And I see Sam just peeked in, so he can chime in on this too. But the biggest game of the season and the most unusual week of the season. You got Wednesday, a teacher work day. Okay. So the kids are out. Then you got Thursday, which is a holiday, the day before a game. And I know everybody's goal is to practice on Thanksgiving. And then you got Friday, where they also have no school, and you got to sit around all day until 7 o'clock comes to play the game. So how will you, or both of you, how are y'all going to adjust to the biggest game of the season, but an unusual schedule as far as how you normally practice?
We're going to keep everything as planned. Like anytime we out of school and we can go early in the morning, we go early in the morning. So my kids and parents already know we out of school. It's going to be an early morning practice. I like to let the kids be kids. They come to practice and they have the rest of their day to themselves. Friday we're gonna keep the same. Like we'll come in by 2 o'clock, have our walkthrough, have pregame, and then let the kids have a little time before they get dressed and go out for pregame. So it won't be too much. It won't too much change on my end. We're gonna do what we normally do when we out of school, and so my kids already know how we're gonna roll and what time it is.
Sam, same question.
Yeah, I think both of us have been in this situation before. It's no different than last year. We're used to being off on a Wednesday, Thursday during Thanksgiving week. Like you said, we're going to go in the morning too on a Wednesday and on a Thursday. The key is Friday. We've had games before in the past where we didn't have school. And it means something. Our kids know how important it is on both sides. So it's not like, you know what, I'm going to roll out of bed and be at the school at 2:00. They understand. They're going to do the best they can. There's always circumstances, but if the game means as much as to them as it means to us, and I know it does, they're going to do what they need to do this week. They're focused. I mean, both teams are going to be focused. You're going to get the best versions of Huff and the best versions of West Charlotte, and the best team will advance on. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, Coach Baker, I got a question for you. Samar, I know you talked about you got a lot of FCS guys. Samar Matthews, one of the best players in the country. How do you keep him engaged when he's almost like Dion out there, where people won't even throw to him all year long? I mean, he'll go like weeks without a play.
Man, you know what, Samar? Man, he's a different cat, man. Like when he's not, he's coaching everybody on the field. Like, when he's not getting thrown, and he's making sure everybody else where they need to be. And he's gonna make. Samar is the type of kid, man. He's gonna play so hard, like you ain't gonna want to look over that way. But when you do, like he make you pay for it. Like it's gonna be a PBU, interception, whatever it may be. And it's not hard to keep him engaged because he's a football player. Like he's very smart. He's very smart, man. Like I say, when he's not in the game, and even when he's in the game, he's coaching the boys on the field. And so, I don't really have any problem with him like not being engaged, because when you're not engaged, that's when they're gonna try you. So he always on his P's and Q's, and he just does what he does week in and week out.
You ever get tempted to play him on offense, put him in receiver or slot?
What I was going to this year, and I decided not to. Some of my younger kids, man, when Tyrann kind of went down, they really stepped up. And honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you, like him going down was a gift and a curse for us, because our young guys realize they can do it. You know what I mean? So. And now that he's back, it's good, because we don't got to depend on him to do everything.
Yeah. Well, Coach, man, thanks for jumping on with us. Best of luck. Dale will be at the game on Friday. We'll have probably 8 photographers and 2 reporters at the game. Huge game. Congratulations to you and Sam for making it as far as the game. I know that all of us here have been looking forward to seeing. So best of luck to you, and we'll talk to you after the game.
All right, appreciate it,
Coach.
All right, fellas. All right, now.
All right, Coach.
That's Deshaun Baker of Huff High School. We'll be right back after this break with more Talking Preps.
Hey, this is Chris Hughes, host of the Observer's Talking Preps. Proud to say that our show is growing and growing and growing, and we've got a brand new schedule. Mondays at 8 p.m., get our Players of the Week. No more waiting. Then on Tuesday, 8 p.m., catch me and Sam and all the guys of the #1 show in high school football in North Carolina, Talking Preps. Wednesdays, 8:30, Dale Ross and Jim West will host Talking Preps OT Live, talking about statewide issues, trends, and interacting with viewers. And don't miss our post-game show Fridays at 11 p.m., where we wrap up all of the night's actions. At Talking Preps, we've got you covered all week. All right, guys. Hey, 4th round of the playoffs is here. Thanksgiving football. But before we get to the turkey, we better lock the door. Gobble, gobble, gobble.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome.
All right, guys. The best part of the show, coach versus coach. We got a bunch of big-time coaches and one has-been coach. I'm talking about myself. But anyway, big week, Thanksgiving football. So let's get right to it. Question number 1, coach versus coach. How do you discipline a player before a big game? Is it one size fits all or case-by-case basis? An example being player has unexcused absence or unexcused late to a Thursday practice. Coach Griner, I want to give it to you since you're in the thick of the playoffs. I know you've been on championship runs. You've been through these kind of situations. So let's have it.
I think that I'm not a big black and white certain rule guy on situations like this. It's more of the gray area. You have to read every situation. More of the Bobby Bowden hurt the player, not the team. But they got to understand that this is on the table. We have this year sat guys for games for missing a practice and unexcused absence for certain circumstances. And we also have let people play because of the different circumstance. We've set people for quarters, set people for a half, depending on what it is. If it's a reoccurring situation, or it just depends on whatever happened. Discipline, comes in all shapes and sizes. People say, well, they jump off sides a lot. They're undisciplined. I think that's, kind of false. There's different ways. Somebody could have an unbelievable snap count and you're very explosive off the ball and people jump off the ball. I mean, so discipline's different ways. Now, if it's something catastrophic that is hurting the team that needs to be removed, then that's something we need to do. But every situation is different, and I look at it more of a gray lens than a black and white lens.
Coach Hales, you've been through the gamut with championship runs, players. Give us your thoughts on this.
One thing that I know myself and probably every coach, all these guys that are on here and every other coach knows, I'll tell the parents, I tell the kids, I'm going to treat y'all fairly. I'm just not going to treat y'all the same because you're not, and that's, so I think you can't get into that cookie cutter discipline because, you suspend one kid for a quarter. That might mean every single play of that quarter, or it's another kid who he probably wasn't going to play anyway. So the punishment's different. It's Sam, you brought up Bobby Bowden, a lot of things that he said too, I believed in, kid makes a mistake and everybody's already, with pitchforks and that, throw him off the team. You could do a heck of a lot more in terms of behavior modification, I guess, if you want to call it, behind closed doors. Right. Behind closed doors without, Sam, like you said, without hurting the team at the same time. So no, I don't think you could have a black and white, set of rules, that could cover every situation either. There's some situations I've seen that I never would have thought that things could happen that way. So I think you do the best you can. And, like I said, you try to treat everybody fairly, but you can't treat them all the same.
Gary.
Hales, that's my line that Hales used. I used to tell parents that all the time in my parents' meeting. I will treat each one of them consistently different. Because they are different. And, some of my coaching mentors always told me, never discipline yourself out of a game. Don't discipline yourself out of a win. So you have to handle it, but it has to be a case-by-case basis. The other kids need to see that it's going to be handled. Okay? They need to see it so that they understand that, you're going to get disciplined, but I'm not going to discipline myself out of a win. I used to get mad at a lot of head football coaches because I was never a head football coach. I was always an assistant in football. But I would always get mad at them when they would discipline kids at the beginning of practice, because I'm like, you're going to wear this kid out before practice. He ain't going to be no good to the team during practice because you wore him out before practice. If you're going to discipline him after practice. After we got what we need out of him. It's still a discipline process. So, that used to irk me, and they had their ways, and I wasn't a head coach. So, I went with it. But as a head coach, it was a case-by-case basis. And I was not going to discipline myself out of a win. Now, if it was that bad, say they got in a fight or something at school, that's an administrative discipline. I can't do anything about that. But if it's something, as far as a team rule, then I handled it on a case-by-case basis.
Well, and one thing just to add to that too, you come across some of these guys that they have this are our 10 commandments of our football program. And then this is our mission statement. And then this is this statement. I've had one rule, for 15 years, whatever. It's don't be a moron, that's the one rule. It covers everything. And depending on what level somebody wants to violate that, then you have to kind of get creative with your consequences, but everybody's going to violate it. But the more rules that you have, and I don't want this to sound bad, but the more rules you have, the more rules you have to enforce. And then you find yourself just chasing your own tail every day, trying to enforce rules where, look, this is what the situation is. What you did was dumb. This is why it was dumb. Let's get this thing handled so you know not to do that again. Like, that's ultimately what we're all after anyways, just to correct the behavior.
All right. Hey, guys, let's move here to question number 2, coach versus coach. Wait for the graphic to catch up with me. There we go. Should all conference use the same voting processes for the all conference teams, and what should that process be? Gary, I'm going to let you go first.
Okay, and I sent links in this question because some of the conferences published their all conference today. I mean, not today, but this week, And I saw one conference, I'm not going to call them out. They had 4 all conference quarterbacks. And I think it was only 6 or 7 teams in the league. And I'm like, they just set me off, And I've been in all conference meetings where you got the last place team, and this would be basketball because I was a head basketball coach, but where they would nominate 5 players for all conference. And I'm like, how you gonna nominate 5 players for all conference and y'all finished in last? And his argument was always, well, that way I don't have to hear from the parents. I can show the parents who I nominated, and I don't have to hear from them. But
you ain't got to show the parents no nominations.
Yeah, I just hate these participation type things where you got 6 running backs and 7 wide receivers, and it should be 11 on offense, 11 on defense, player of the year, your defensive player of the year, your specialist, and that's it. It's not special if everybody gets a certificate. It's not special if everybody gets a certificate. So I don't know what process the schools use now. It seems to be different from conference to conference, but it should be first team, 11 players, second team, no second team, 11 players on offense, 11 on defense, your specialist, the punter, maybe a long snapper. I think schools don't do that much. A kicker, and your player of the year. And that's it.
Sam.
Yeah, I think that having it all the same is never going to happen because everybody's got their own conference. I do like the aspect of voting. It takes a little longer, but I think that everybody, that's playing against these individuals should vote because there's guys that I really respect against other teams, and I want to vote for them. And, vice versa. I think they want to do the same thing. I think the way we do it is pretty good. You have a first team, but see, it's not just 11 guys. You have to look at it a little bit by personnel. So, it's more of like 13 guys on the first team and 13 guys on the second team. And then you got player of the year on offense, you got player of the year on defense. I like that aspect because, some teams don't run no tight ends. Some teams run 10 personnel. Some teams people run 20 personnel. Some people, might have 12 personnel. So I think it kind of puts that in perspective. I think you got about 6 receivers, 2 tight ends, 3 running backs roughly, 4 running backs, can't remember that, 2 quarterbacks, obviously first team, second team. And I'm saying this all in first and second team. I think you need to say this is the first team, this is the second team. And the only way it gets a little funky is if the player of the year, that if it ever gets to be 3 quarterbacks, is if, the player of the year is the quarterback. I know someone said, well, that's just the first team guy. I'm okay with the player of the year, eliminate him from the thing, and you keep the format the same, however you started it with. And I think that's a good way to go about it. It's not no participate. We didn't do no honorable mentions. It was strictly like you got how many offensive linemen you normally have? 5 on the first team. How many you got on the second team? You got 5 there. Okay, and that's it. And that's the most you're gonna have. But it's hard. It's hard to get in first team or second team offensive line, and so and obviously quarterback and those things. So, and, explosive conferences like ours, if you're one of those, top 3 to 4 running backs, you're a good football player. So,
Brian.
Yeah, I think I'd be good with going with 2 teams. To me, that first team all conference, what that signifies is you could start for every team in that conference. Like no holds barred, like you're playing for every team in that conference. Now, you have conferences like the conference Sam and I are in. It's a great conference. It's loaded with talent all over the place. So, that's a situation where, because again, kids do need to be recognized. So I think expanding that into a second team, like I'd be all for like this, the way the voting went, here's our 5 first team guys. And then you next 5, you're the 5 second team guys. I don't think, no, you can mandate because I think, the way some of those conferences do it, like if you win the conference, you automatically get 10 all conference spots, put whatever 10 kids you want on there, and I think that's how that happens with some of these conferences where you have 4 quarterbacks making the all conference team and like 6 linemen. But no, I do think there needs to be recognition. I think the top line of that is these kids would start for every team in this conference. They are the best of the best. Right below that, you have that group of guys that these guys are pretty dang good. And, they may not be beating out these 2 tackles because both of these 2 tackles may be playing on Sunday, but we want to be able to recognize these kids as well. But I don't think you want to go down the road where you got first team, second team, honorable mention, like third honorable mention, like where, Gary, you're saying everybody gets a trophy on that. At the end of the day too, I just think make sure when you have these all conference meetings that you feed the coaches, Tinsley, because I was starving at our meeting. They didn't feed us. They kept us there all day. Sam, like, yeah, I'm still hungry. My feelings are still hurt, man.
And you're talking about, Garinger hosted theirs and they had food and all this stuff. And, and we're supposed to be the best conference there is. And we had no food, Bailey and Tinsley. Come on.
I couldn't even get a bottle of water. Elder abuse.
Wow.
Well,
and finally, we got one question left right here.
Money because they had restricted entrance to their games.
Hey, that's my
Speaking of money, Sam, you and I got paid the same this week for coaching. I was home at 3:00 every day.
I know. What a shame. It's
hey,
all right.
We got one question left here, and Hale's kind of already hit it with his answer, but we're going to throw it out there again. How many teams should there be on all conference? First team, second team, third team, et cetera. Hale's, you pretty much gave that answer, but I'm going to let you kind of carry it again.
Yeah, 2 teams. I think your first team, that group of kids, they start for every team in the conference. They are without question the best of the best. And again, this is something the coaches are voting on. I think you have the second team because some of those guys that some years they probably are first team guys. They just the level of talent ahead of them is just so high. But no, I'm more than happy first team, second team, and let's go with it. That's
Sam.
my answer.
Yeah, 100% that way. You got one player of the year on both sides of the ball. You got one special teams player of the year. You got a first team and you got a second team. That's it. You got one utility player that can maybe mix in if he's a tight end / this. He might be a guy that, you got literally 13 guys on offense and I think maybe 12 guys on defense, something of that nature on first team, second team.
Gary, last word.
One team. That's it. No second team. You can put everybody else on honorable mention, but one team. That's it. You ain't special if you ain't on first team. That's it.
That's it. Well, guys, that's another one. Coach versus coach in the books. Happy Thanksgiving.
Man, I love the banter. All right. So on the all observer team, Sam, is that right? We're going to do a quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, 5 linemen, specialist kicker. Is that right? No, that's not what we're doing. What are we doing?
No, we do 2 running backs, 3 receivers, 1 tight end, 5 O-linemen.
But you playing with 12 people now, Sam. One running back.
It's about personnel.
Gary, do you agree with this for all observer?
Gary don't need to be involved in it. He ain't been in it before. Daggone it. No.
Oh gosh.
You just want free. You just want free. That's what you
really. I'm just saying.
Listen,
who? I'll give you an example.
Nobody plays two running backs at the same time hardly anymore. I'd take one of those running backs off and add wide receiver.
So you would only have one running back.
I'd only have one running back.
Okay. Dale, what do you?
Nobody plays with 2 running backs.
I think what Sam says makes a lot of sense because not everybody runs the same personnel. I think that makes sense. One running back. I don't. Most teams have 2 running backs, right? It just depends where they're lining them up.
They have one running back.
Nobody you guys fullback anymore.
No, they'll have to. they don't go every play with the just one running.
You got one. You got one quarterback. You got one running back. You got 2 wings, 2 tight ends, and 5 offensive linemen. That's
wings are running backs.
You're wrong on defense.
Wings are halfbacks.
You're wrong on defense too.
So Jim is saying this: a quarterback, running back, wing, 2 wide receivers, a tight end.
But wings are halfbacks. What do you? Why is he saying that?
I'm calling them wing backs. That's what I call them.
But a wing back is a halfback.
Yeah, I know.
They're halfbacks.
I got to pick a team to come out on Christmas
Never
Day.
mind. I was having some fun here.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Hales,
I'm sorry.
How about this on defense, Hales? 4 linemen, 3 running backs, 4 defensive backs,
4 linebackers too. 4 different defenses.
There's 11 people on the field.
No, I'm good at that one right there.
You like what I have right there? You like what I have?
You guys got all mixed up here too.
It's 4-4-4.
No,
that's 12.
Every year we've done
that's participation.
It's not a participation trophy.
You can go 3. You can go 3 linemen and 4 linemen.
I'm gonna go ahead and make my point. If someone runs a 3-4 defense, okay, you're telling them they can't play with 10 people now because you're saying they don't get a 4th linebacker.
You're talking about an all-star team.
And I'm telling you, there's teams that play 2 outside linebackers, 2 inside. But what you do when you do it we've done it every year the same way. Every year.
No, we haven't. We swapped around quite a bit.
It's 4-4-4
because of somebody who has dreads on the screen right now.
It's 4-4-4.
5 defensive linemen. That's what you need. 5 or 6 defensive linemen. Only 3 linebackers and maybe a couple of defensive backs.
We're doing 2 teams, right?
We're doing
first team, second team, right?
Yeah,
first team, second team.
Jim gonna put out a lonesome end position.
No honorable mention, none of that. Just first team, second team.
I'm glad somebody else is picking up what Jim is saying too, because he's talking about wings, 2 tight ends. I'm with you, Jim. I was listening to you.
Hey, Hells, we need a bear front defense, a 50 defense.
Right. Come on. 4-2-5. We got to have 5 DBs now too for those people.
That's not package.
We got to pick. We got to pick all observer.
You have a defense. You always had a defense. You had an athlete. Or we named it an athlete. It could be 4-3.
Yeah, we had an athlete. Specialist. Yeah, we have it. Yeah.
Right.
That was a KD Cotton Award the last couple of years.
On offense.
So we're going to have we got to pick the observer team soon. We got to pick Mr. Football Finals will come out next Sunday. So these guys are going to put their thinking caps on. We're going to trim that list of 12, I think it was, to 3 or 5, whatever Sam says we're going to close it to. And then we'll announce that next week on the show. But it's been a busy show. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. I did in the back. These guys really know what they're talking about. You can't find better discussion about high school football in this. And I'm going to put the big man as one shot. Sam, it's your thoughts. What you got?
There's only one game to be at Friday. Go get your tickets now. They're going to go quick.
Yeah, man, didn't have a lot. You don't think people in Greensboro want to go see Grimsley play, or people,
we represent this show represents 704 right now, baby.
No, we're
Dare to Cherokee.
Chris says we're Dare to Cherokee.
Dare to Cherokee, baby. Dare to Cherokee.
That's fine.
All right, this has been a great
9, buddy.
It's been a great show, guys. We make sure you check out Jim and Dale on Wednesday night. They're doing really good things, and on Friday night they'll be back live at 11:30. We get coaches on there, we get players on there, highlights on there. Still don't get mad at me. And but that show's on Friday night at 11:30. So anyway, that is Sam Griner, the 2-time state championship coach from West Charlotte. He's going to try to take a big step to change that on Friday night. That's Chris Hughes, the #1 voice of high school football. That's Gary Richmond, the former CMS coach. That is Jim West, our Eastern North Carolina expert. That's Dale Ross, the CMS historian. That's a lot of people. And that's Brian Hales, the 3-time state championship coach from Butler. And we are finally done talking prep.
Jim West.
Where was